and the stream is down. Okay. And so Tony missed the green gate glitch 5 times and had to refill supers here. This is... Oh no, Tony. Bit of shambles here. So the right portals were... I didn't see the moat one, but that one is crab hole. So can't do anything there. It looks like they were both dead ends. So this item at grapple beam is required. Possibly. I didn't see the moat one. Which is a little unfortunate because it was right as the stream died too. We were all worried about the stream dying, so we missed that moat portal, and no one in chat will be able to tell. But it had to have been something that farfelu couldn't follow. Okay, and Tony gets the green gate glitch after some shambles. So Tony's gonna actually be a little bit ahead here. He probably doesn't feel like it with the green gate shambles and the death at the beginning. However, he could feel pretty good. Chat, looking back on the VOD, it looked to be the front of wrecked ship, so it wasn't actually a required portal. And just getting the high jump boots here, okay. So farfelu coming back here is interesting. And yes, there is high jump and ice beam for crab hole. It's kind of looking like this seed is a required crab hole climb gating the beginning of the game. If that wrecked ship boss isn't killable. And it was smart by farfelu to come back here as well, because you can't go about the back of wrecked ship. So checking that boss might have been fine. He didn't have a save though, and that's the way he's probably going to head anyway. So he knew that either that boss is Fantoon, I suppose, is the one scenario where leaving that boss there is kind of bad to come back and get this item, because it could have just been Fantoon at the boss location. And at which point then, your logical way out of criteria is in wrecked ship. So what's going through our runners' minds right now is neither of them probably feel good with how the early game has gone for either of them. As viewers, we all know that they're pretty close. They're pretty even at the moment. Neither player has that big of a lead. farfelu is going to know what portal to go to. He's a little bit ahead, but they probably both feel extremely behind right now. And we'll see if that maybe affects how they decide to continue playing the seed. So even though they have the grapple beam and the high jump boots, you almost don't want to see Dragon here. It is possible, but it's not an easy Dragon if it's here at all. Because without the various suit, grapple killing will kill you with this health. No, you'll have 99 left. It's 200 to grapple kill Dragon, 200 exactly. And then if there's no E-tank behind Dragon, then I don't even know if you can. 99 is enough to get an attempt at the grapple jump. Maybe you get one without the various suit. So it's not an easy Dragon if it's here. And Ridley not possible. So our runners are probably looking for a Kraden or Phantoon here. It's a Kraid. Now, I wonder if Tony is going to save here before this boss check. He has a ship save. The reason I think Tony might is going to save here, though, is because he probably wants to go out the back of Wreck Ship before climbing Crab Hole. So and he's going to want to check. He's checking this ammo check before saving, just so that if it's a boss he cannot kill, he gets to keep this ammo check and doesn't have to waste time going to get it again. It's slightly inefficient because you have to go back to the save station, but if in the event that it's a boss you can't kill, which is 50% here, and it's a super, you don't want to have to waste the time to come back and get this super when you have to reset out of the boss. An E-tank behind Kraid. So it's going through Farfelu's mind right now is probably it's either back of Wreck Ship or up Crab Hole. And it's either one of those. Both of those could be good solutions. Or it's just back of Wreck Ship leads into a red tower or a green Brinstar. As a runner, I would be tempted to test Crab Hole before back of Wreck Ship because there's more accessible portals in West Meridia. You can get to all of them with this loadout. And there's also the Mama Turtle check. However, I think realistically speaking, I would go out the back of Wreck Ship first because the main street climb with just Ice Beam can get kind of slow, especially if you're not super well versed in it. And it's also just slow in general. And you can save right here when you check this boss anyway to go out and check it here. As Tony finishes up his great fight, he's going to find a lovely E-tank to heal him up. And I'm going to expect that we see Tony do the same thing here. And go out the back of Wreck Ship at this point. You're right here. It's in logic. And Suitless West Meridia gets really slow. And it's in front of LN. Yep. I kind of figured that it's West Meridia, so the items are placed randomly. There's no reading a seed necessarily. However, we're in a situation where these starting items are the exact items that you would need to put Mama Turtle and every West Meridia portal in logic. And it's the only items we've seen, and this criteria is so blocked off. That could have just happened by chance, and then the only the high jump was really necessary of the Ice Beam, high jump, and grapple beam. But it's probably more likely that all three of these items are kind of required. But it is random, so you can't really make plays on that, you're liable to just, put yourself in a really bad situation if you try to do that too hard because the item placement is random. But it does seem very unlikely that these are the items it gives you, and you have this as then the criteria looks like this, and you wouldn't go up crab hole, but not impossible. This is going to test our runner's practice at going out crab hole here with Ice Beam. There's a few different strategies you can do. You can use a super to bring an enemy down. But again, the thing is there's no necessary logic to follow because it doesn't use the logic to place the items. The way the randomizer works is it places the items and checks for beatability. So it's not placing them with any sort of logic in mind. So there's no necessarily logic to follow because it's not placing them with the logic in mind. And as Chad is also pointing out, it could be Batoon, which would be gnarly. There's 3 options, and yep, here we go. There's the red tower. And there's an immediate green Brinstar. Now Tony's going to do the same thing to get up the crab hole with high jump and ice beam. There is a strategy you can do where you don't super the crab down, and you instead freeze it up in the top left of the hole, and you do a type of jump referred to as a flatly jump, where you turn and jump out of the turn at the edge of a ledge, which gives you just a little bit more distance, which is enough to get up and on top of the crab there. So you don't have to use 2 of them. You only need to use 1, and you don't need to use any supers either. And so Chad asked the question, outside of major glitches, is it possible for the item placement to make the game theoretically impossible? No. If it places the items and checks for beatability, and if the seed is not beatable, then it re-rolls all the item locations and portals and everything. So it will always give a completable seed based on the logic preset that is being used. But it only uses that to determine beatability. It doesn't use it to actually place the items. And Tony looks like he's going to go to Batoon instead of crab hole. This feels like one of those plays where he died early and then had to farm up for gate glitch 4 times. And is probably, thinking, why not give this a try? If I had to guess. Because I do know that Tony is well aware that the crab hole climb with ice and high jump is in logic. As Farflu's finding redfish. So Farflu's over here cleaning up red tower and green Brinstar. And did Farfelu check business center there? Interesting. I'm a little surprised Farfelu didn't check business center there, just because with no speed booster and no upper Norfair portals outstanding, it's going to be hard to get back to that business center later. The Varia makes it easier, but it's still slow. Like it's going to be inefficient to check business center later, and even Tony, no. So completely suitless. This is tricky, especially with just Ice Beam. What you'd have to do is freeze the Machtroid. And it looks like Tony's going to go back and try it again. But yeah, the Machtroid just follows you too fast. And without any suits, it's 90 damage per. What Tony's gonna have to do is Tony's gonna have to freeze it from a distance, and then break the crumble blocks and get its attention, because then it's gonna be one shot from being frozen. And Tony is going to be having a tough time to defeating Batsun here. 5 supers, 35 missiles. It is not a trivial Batsun fight. Yeah, and farfelu is going to be finishing up his green Brinstar here. Green Brinstar is a nice area full of items. So Tony's going to want to... These crumble blocks. Oh, no. Oh, no. Okay, there. That's good for him. And so this is a far from trivial Batsun fight. Oh, jeez. Oh, he's still fine. But, oh my. Oh no. And once you get out of that crab hole, this map really kind of fleshes itself out here pretty nicely, although and that just comes out to single chamber. So this is going to be farfelu's way back to business center. But without the speed booster, it's pretty slow. I think at this point, Tony is very committed to this, and he's going to Billy Mays for ammo. I think at this point, he is very committed to doing this East Meridia here. With everything that's happened so far, he's kind of just full head of steam. I'm doing this East Meridia. Definitely does not feel good. And maybe he goes through the back here at meme route, but gosh, going through the back is not trivial. The sand just gets everywhere. Okay, there is a super missile here. Look at that. So now he has 10 supers for this Batsun fight. as farfelu here is doing the bubble mountain checks. So let's see here. What farfelu is going to be doing here is the speed booster and the reserve is probably going to clear up the rest of Upper Norfair, check the 2 bottom portals, and then are we missing middle of Red Tower? No, we're not, right? I don't know. This tracker can get a little hard to read sometimes. But there aren't very many portals left for farfelu, so this is definitely a situation where you want to be prioritizing items over your portals here, because you're kind of running out. And I suppose farfelu does have everything he needs. Except for like a spring ball. He really needs a spring ball because he doesn't know boss locations yet. If Fantoon is in Meridia, then farfelu's going to need a spring ball to get out. If it is Ridley or Dragon, he's in go mode, and there's the gravity suit. So unfortunately, Tony committing to Deceased Meridia is not going to work out for him. And farfelu's ready to beat the game. So now farfelu's in portal hunt mode. It would have been fun to see the gravity at Batun, but I think even if that was the case, farfelu would just be so far ahead that it wouldn't matter at this point. So farfelu's in portal hunt mode. Ideally, he wants to find the back of Lower Norfair, which it looks like is very likely to not be Kraid, unless these portals connect to each other. And they do not. So that's the back of Lower Norfair. So we're going to see Lower Norfair here from farfelu. He's going to check the remaining portal. After this Lower Norfair, he's going to do it back to back. And he's going to check for some ammo here. You are missing all of East Meridia. And for those of you just getting here, so the early game, Tony took a death. Did spike some supers over farfelu at 230. Farfelu's early game ended up being really inefficient because the high jump at the grapple location was required. And when farfelu defeated Croc the first time, he didn't have super missiles to get those high jump boots, whereas Tony did. However, Tony ended up missing the green gate glitch quite a bit. He had to go and refill his 5 supers about 4 or 5 times, unfortunately. So despite the farfelu's inefficiencies, the death plus the green gate glitch stuff still put Tony a little bit behind. He was not that far behind though, but it was either do what he's doing now or go up Crab Hole in West Meridia. And I think Tony felt further behind than he was because he just didn't think farfelu would miss those super missiles at 230. Because farfelu skipped the 230 and decided to do the gauntlet instead, and gauntlet was just double missile. So Tony felt really far behind and probably is just, trying to have some fun. Because farfelu's doing this Lower Norfair here. Farfelu doesn't need any more items, so he might check behind some bosses, but you're not going to see any more checks from him, really. Other than for ammo. And his ammo's looking really good. And this is Dragon here. So It's either Ridley or Fantoon here. So for Tony to be able to beat this boss, he needs it to be Fantoon, and he needs this to be Spring Ball. And it's Screw Attack. So Tony's having a good time. Or maybe a bad time, it's hard to tell. As Farfelu uses that grapple beam to take out the Dragon, and isn't even going to check the item behind Dragon. Of the boss checks for major items, Dragon is definitely the slowest out of Dragon, Ridley, and Kraid. Definitely makes sense to skip. Farflu's not looking for anything. Props to Tony for keeping on playing. It's probably continuing to play. Is not easy after something like this has happened. There still is game 2 and a potentially game 3, depending on the result of that game 2. So trying to keep a level head and just chalking it up. It's some bad play, but that's okay. It's not characteristic. And Farfelu coming through Lower Norfair here is at 267. Should be fine, but it could get scary if he is not used to dodging the Three Musketeers. Looks like Farfelu is going to be checking the Fire Flea item for an energy tank, which it is. Now Farfelu is very safe. So Farflu's going to come back here and check this Upper Norfair portal. I have to wonder if maybe going out the front of Lower Norfair is better. You already have the wrecked ship boss, but it takes you back to Crateria to get that East Meridia, because both East Meridia portals are in that Crateria. And it's really hard to get back to. You basically have to go into West Meridia. I'm thinking, though, if this just takes him to Red Tower, though, that's fine, because West Meridia connects to Red Tower. So this is better. Never mind. This is much better. Yeah. With the wrecked ship boss already dead, this is significantly better. If the wrecked ship boss was a Dragon or a Ridley, for example, I think going out the front would have been better. But because it's a boss they have already killed, this portal check is much more important. Because, yeah, if it's not Kraid, then it's Red Tower or West Meridia. And then you know where Kraid is. So the back is definitely much better here. So it's very rare that this crab climb with high jump and ice is hard required. But this is actually the second seed so far in the tournament that has required it. I've personally never played a seed that has required it, but it is something that I have seen people do in seeds where it's not required because they wanted to check this portal, or they found this portal and knew the Main Street portal was a good one to go to. No, it's not going to be high enough. No, oh, Tony was so close. As farfelu's fighting Pantoon here at Great Lair. Tony's gonna get this here now. He's gonna just. Oh no. So there is a strategy here that doesn't require using supers, but it looks like both of our runners are not completely aware of that strategy. Tony's gonna need to morph. There we go. Yep, there we go. Now he's got it. That's one of those weird things that it can be required by logic, but if you don't have a strat for it, it can go south very, very, very quickly. So most people just don't rely on putting themselves in a situation where they have to do it unless forced. The strat that doesn't involve supering crabs down from the ceiling involves just doing a flatly jump off of the right side, where you freeze one of the crabs along the wall in the correct position to be able to reach it with a flatly. And farfelu's ammo is looking all right here. Ideally, he wants a little bit more than this, though. On the bright side for Tony, his lower Norfair is going to be a lot easier when he gets there. I don't think the screw attack is enough, unfortunately, but... Let's see. Where is he going to take this? Farfelu's probably going to take this to Redfish, I would imagine, to connect back to Red Tower, because now he knows the entire map. And knows that pre-aqueduct. Maybe he already did know the middle of Red Tower connector, but we just missed it. I'm not sure. It'd be a little weird given this map layout to have... No, actually it makes complete sense to have skipped with this map layout, never mind. But he was able to deduce it. And is going to use that to... Oh, actually, yeah, no, he needs to go back to Criteria, not Red Tower. I was thinking Red Tower is the way back to Criteria, but it's not. Well, it is, but... West Meridia is closer to Criteria than Red Tower is, because Criteria is what takes you to West Meridia to get to Red Tower. Or to get to... My brain is not working. But, regardless, farfelu's coming here now to do this East Meridia. This East Meridia is completely locked behind the Criteria. And the Criteria is very inaccessible. So this is a pretty big detour. As Tony finds the pre-aqueduct portal and is going to go up Red Tower. Screw attack can make this annoying. And there we go. And farfelu is going to use this sandpit to skip Batsun, and I suppose check some more ammo. So fighting Batsun is actually faster than going around. But my guess is farfelu maybe wanted, a little bit of extra safety on the ammo. If he finds that he doesn't need another super, for example, but another one wouldn't hurt, because just complete safety, all things considered. And no Shack Tool check today. But yeah, fighting Batsun is actually going to be a faster way to get to this boss than having to go around. But going around does save ammo and get you a couple ammo checks. So I have to imagine it's just for the ammo checks there. And when he didn't find a super, he was just like, eh. Because he does have the supers to deal with a Ridley back here and a Batsun and not have to need to farm at all. Yeah, and farfelu has so many supers here, he's just, putting them into walls. So this is farfelu's last boss, and his ammo is pretty good. So how is he going to want to route to Turian after this? So Turian is in Red Tower. So you go out the front of East, and then, yeah, you would just go to West Meridia, up Crab Hole, and, yeah, the map is kind of linear in that regard. It's that this criteria is just off on its own in La La Land over here. Now Tony has finally made his way to Green Bryn. Unfortunately, his early game execution errors put him pretty far behind. Made him feel pretty far behind. He wasn't as far behind as he felt, but decided to try and make a Hail Mary suitless East Meridia play at the beginning of the game. That just didn't really work out for him, and he committed to it extremely hard. And unfortunately, nothing really worked out for him in doing that. And so he ended up pretty far behind farfelu in terms of progression of the seed here, with a couple deaths and a rough Batsun fight, and not getting rewarded with the Batsun item. Tony's going to find his various suit here in Green Bryn Star. And farfelu having just enough power bombs to get through that maze. If he ran out of power bombs, he would have just been able to take off that gravity suit and do some mid-air morphs. Doing those mid-air morphs without the gravity suit is not too tricky. Yeah, ironically, grabbing that screw attack would have actually ended up saving farfelu time, because you wouldn't have needed to try and farm power bombs here. That's a little funny, actually. He's probably feeling pretty bad about skipping that screw attack right now. In area rando, the power bomb blocks in Aqueduct, which is the front of East Meridia that he just came through, are actually just bomb blocks in area rando. So screw attack would break them. And the reason for that is, I believe it's meant to prevent soft locks in extremely niche circumstances. I've never actually seen those circumstances come up. I can't even think of what they are off the top of my head, to be honest. But those are bomb blocks to prevent soft locks in extremely niche circumstances. Or we're really wishing he had that screw attack Tony has right now. Do you need to gravity jump this with high jump? I actually don't know. I would imagine that you have to, otherwise you wouldn't have. And chat asks a very good question, and the answer to that question is yes. And there's a spacer for Tony at high jump. So farfelu didn't check any business center. It was just a reserve in the spacer. There was no nice little speed booster or space jump there for him. So farfelu's going to be heading to Turian. While Tony's going to make his way through the cathedral, most likely. The walk of shame through the cathedral. Has the various suit though, so it makes it a lot more palatable. Oh, actually, Tony's just going to leave. I imagine maybe he went down the elevator without checking this other portal here. Yep, and that's the case. So farfelu doing the Metroid rooms here, being able to freeze them and use ammo to kill them with that ice beam there. He does have to be careful though. He wants to make sure that he ends up full on supers after this, just because you can't refill them. Even if he had 59 supers there, he would have been fine. It wouldn't have put him in a bad situation or anything. But you definitely want to end full on supers here. So missing that last grouping, while at 59, gives you much better odds. It's like 98.5% to get one super from a group of 3 Metroids, and then it's like 89%, I believe, to get 2. So missing there wastes a little bit of time, but it increases your odds of being full by a little under 10%, which I think in a rando race for that kind of safety is probably pretty worth it for just that 1 second. Very rarely is a rando race going to come down to that 1 to 2 seconds. So it looks like farfelu, with opening one door, is going to have 2 missiles and 2 supers of leeway, if I'm doing my math correctly there. He's taking a save. It's a little safe. Maybe he feels surprisingly pretty good, and maybe expects Tony to have had some shambles, or maybe just in case he thinks taking that save station isn't going to be enough time loss to lose him the seed, but certainly soft locking is enough time loss to lose him the seed. Oh, okay. Uh, so now, let's see here. Yep, he's going to end up with, 2 missiles and 2 supers of leeway there, or otherwise known as 8 missiles of leeway. So, Farflu's just finishing up here, didn't miss any of his ammo checks. As Tony finds his gravity suits and his fate is possibly sealed in his mind. Although, I think for Tony, the race was probably pretty over a while ago when he finally got past that bot swoon and didn't see that gravity suit there, just the screw attack. Yes, that was for those wondering. Chad asked if it was a required crab climb seed, and yes, it was a required crab hole with high jump and ice seed. It is something that is in logic, and it can be asked to do it. It's kind of rare. I had never seen it until a seed a little bit earlier in the tournament had it required. So this would be only the second seed I've ever seen that straight up requires it. It seems pretty rare to straight up require it. It has to be basically the West Meridia just has to lock a very large portion of the map, and that large portion of the map is going to have the gravity suit for it to be required usually, because there's just no other situations where it can be required are going to be ones where you have to fall down into crab hole to get like a high jump at Kraid, and then use the ice and high jump to get out. That can actually also be required. And then the high jump and ice unlocks, Botwoon for like gravity at the Botwoony tank, for example, is another situation where it can be required, but that one is significantly more rare. But yes, the way the logic works is it's not point of no return logic, I think it's called. I don't know the exact name of it, but basically it doesn't check that you can get out of a location for it to put an item there. So for instance, an item can be at a location that you can get to but can't get out of, that gets you out of that location. So if there's a croc in crab hole, for example, it can have the gravity suit required to get you out of there. And good games to farfelu. Farfelu is finished within a official racetime.gg time of 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 22 seconds, followed very closely by a Tony forfeit. I think Tony's probably pretty happy to forfeit that. You don't really want to have to play out a seed that has gone the way it has for Tony. All right, and looking at their next race, looks like it has not started yet, and there is 10-minute delay on these streams. So it looks like we'll be back for game 2 in a little over 10 minutes here, maybe 15 or so. But it will be on the same channel, and I will also be here to commentate that game as well. So, be back here in about 10 to 15 minutes, and we'll see you then.